Chapter 8. Christian is instructed at the house of the interpreter. Part 1. Then he went on till he came to the house of the interpreter, where he knocked at the entrance over and over again. At last, someone came to the door and asked, "Who is there?" Christian replied, "Sir, I am a traveller who was advised by an acquaintance of the good man of this house to call here for my benefit. Therefore, I would like to speak with the master of this house." So the man at the door called for the master of the house, who soon came to Christian and asked him what was the reason for his visit. Christian began to explain. "Sir, I am a man who has come from the city of destruction, and am on my way to Mount Zion. I was told by one Goodwill at the wicket gate, the commencement of this narrow way, that if I called here, you would show me excellent things that would be of help to me in my journey." "By all means, come in," said Interpreter, "and I will certainly show you things that you will find beneficial." So he commanded his helper to light the candle, and then invited Christian to follow him. A. The portrait of the godly pastor. Now Interpreter led the pilgrim into a private room, and there he ordered his man to open a door. Then did Christian see the picture of a very grave person hanging against the wall, and its features were as follows. This man had his eye directed up toward heaven, the best of books in his hand. The law of truth was written upon his lips. The world was behind his back. He stood as if he pleaded with men, and a crown of gold hung over his head. "What then does this mean?" asked Christian. Interpreter began to explain. "The man in the picture which you see is 1 in 1,000 who can beget children, travail in birth with children, and nurse them himself when they are born. And just as you see him with his eyes looking up toward heaven, the best of books in his hand, and the law of truth written on his lips, this is to show you that his work is to know and unfold dark things to sinners. Similarly, just as you see him stand as if he pleaded with men, and also you notice that the world is cast behind him, and that a crown hangs over his head, this is to show you that in slighting and despising the things of the present on account of his love and devotion to his master's service, he is sure to have glory for his reward in the world to come. Now, I have showed you this picture first, because the man who it portrays is the only man who the Lord of the celestial city has authorized to be your guide in all of the difficult situations that you may encounter along the way. Therefore, pay attention to what I have showed you, and carefully weigh in your mind what you have seen, lest in your journey you meet with some that pretend to lead you along the right path, while in reality their way leads to death. B. The distinction between the law and the gospel. Then Christian was taken by the hand and led into a very large parlour that was full of dust, having never been swept. Now, after he had observed this scene for a little while, Interpreter called for a man to commence sweeping. As a result, the dust began to fly about so overwhelmingly that Christian was nearly choked to death. Interpreter immediately spoke to a gracious lady standing nearby. "Bring some water here and sprinkle this room." The lady, having done this, the parlor was then easily swept and cleansed. Christian asked, "What does this mean?" This parlor is the heart of a man who has never been sanctified by the sweet grace of the gospel, explained Interpreter. The dust is his original sin and inward corruptions that have thoroughly defiled the whole man. He who first began to sweep is the law, but the gracious lady who brought water and sprinkled the room is the gospel. Now, while you saw, as soon as the man began to sweep, that dust so swirled about the room that it became even more difficult to cleanse, and you were near choked to death. This is to show you that the law, instead of it effectively cleansing the heart from sin, does in fact arouse, give greater strength to, and cause sin to flourish in the soul. And this result is in spite of the fact that the law both uncovers and condemns sin, for it does not have the power to subdue. Furthermore, as you saw the gracious lady sprinkle the room with water, at which it was very easily cleansed, this is to show you that when the gospel comes with its sweet and precious influences indwelling the heart, then just as you saw the lady settle the dust by sprinkling the floor with water, so is sin vanquished and subdued, and the heart made clean through the faith of that soul. And consequently, that same soul is then made a suitable place for the King of glory to inhabit.